Hello, my name is Steve Pretty. I'm a musician, performer and composer from London, and welcome to my podcast, Steve Pretty on the Origin of the Pieces. This is the show that helps you to hear, understand and enjoy music in new ways. Hello everyone, lovely to be back for this emergency podcast, and it is an emergency for reasons I'll explain shortly. This is a little sub-episode, episode 25C. We had another sub-episode a few weeks ago with the great Robin Ince for World Poetry Day, but this is another sub-episode for Eurovision, more of which shortly. But meanwhile, thanks for bearing with me during this podcast evolution. I know the episodes have been a bit more sporadic than usual, but there's so much going on behind the scenes, it's really quite something. I've had a lot of live stuff going on, but there's also a lot of really fascinating stuff going on with this podcast. I'm just generating so much that I kind of can't keep up with the edits at the moment. This week alone, I have spent an afternoon recording stuff with the Natural History Museum in London. They have a wonderful curator of mammals who is a whale expert. So we've been talking about underwater song and whale song, and how whales might use music or otherwise, and listening to some archive recordings and all sorts of fascinating stuff. We went up to Audio Gold to digitise a load of records from the Natural History Museum collection, and anyway, it's been a lot. And then of course I've also been speaking to opera singers. I've been speaking to people who make EDM. I made a piece of dirty rap which I performed at the Wilton's Music Hall show in April. That's all right, because of course I've also been doing 3 Wilton's Music Hall shows recently, live versions of this podcast. So there's just hours and hours of really, really interesting stuff to come. So thank you for bearing with me, and do stay tuned. Speaking of which, if you head over to originofthepieces.com, that's the place for the mailing list and the Patreon and stuff. So your support there will be much appreciated, and you'll be kept abreast of all the latest. So originofthepieces.com. But leading to today's episode, we should talk about what we're doing, because it is an emergency, because it is Eurovision Day. And Eurovision, I'm sure most of you will know what it is. Maybe lots of you might watch it, are big fans of it. Some of you might be a little bit Eurovision skeptic. I didn't really know very much about it. I'd occasionally tune into it, but before this episode, when I went away and did a bit of research about it, I didn't know a whole lot about it. But for this episode, speaking to Frances Ruffelle, who's an amazing singer and actor, musical theatre actress, who opened the role of Eponine on Broadway and in the West End in Les Miserables, won a Tony Award on Broadway, and then did our Eurovision entry for 1994, which is what we're obviously talking about here, as well as her other work. It's a real pleasure to have Frances on the show. She came down to Wilton's and we recorded this live back in January, which was super fun, and she did 2 or 3 live tunes. In fact, we opened the interview with a bit of a live version of a tune that we used to play together. I played in her solo show, Beneath the Dress. I played in the band for that several years ago, and she did a version of Mood Indigo by Duke Ellington. So we do a version of that to open things, and then we get into a bit about her career, a bit about her background, a bit about her history of performing in music halls, actually, and her mum, Sylvia Young, the great theatre school leader, and then we dig into Eurovision. So that's what today is all about. I think whether or not you're into Eurovision, I think you'll find today's episode really interesting, and some of the insights about how it works and her kind of take on how she got into it is really interesting. But also you'll hear at the very top of the show, she talks about her, I guess, impostor syndrome that many of us have, certainly many musicians I know have, and I also suffer from time to time, about not being a real musician. We talk about that, and I tell her to shut up, and that she is a real musician, and that most of us are real musicians. We don't need to be able to, read full scores or, conduct orchestras, to be a real musician. That can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But today's episode is, I like to try, where possible, I like to try and make this show a kind of magazine format, if you like. So having like 2 or 3 different chunks that are completely separate from one another. Just so that little sort of morsels, one of which would be hopefully really interesting, and then the next one would be really interesting in a completely different way, maybe deal with a different style or a different instrumentalist or whatever it might be. But today, for reasons of time, basically, I wanted to get this out on Eurovision Day, and I didn't have time to finish putting the full episode together because there's loads of stuff I want to get on this next full episode to juxtapose all these different things. So instead, I'm bringing you a sub-episode with Frances Ruffelle. This is Frances Ruffelle, recorded live at Wilton's Music Hall in January 2025. Eurovision special. Here we go.
Right to my shoes while I sit and sigh. Roll on, blue.
Give it up, Frances Ruffelle.
Thank you.
Frances Ruffelle.
I normally have a trombone joining me earlier, which keeps me on track, because I'm not really a proper musician.
Nonsense.
I just pretend.
You've literally got a Tony Award for being a proper, musical theatre musician. So, yeah.
I just got away with it. I don't know how it happened.
But I think that's people often say I'm not a proper musician because you don't necessarily. I don't know. Do you read music? I don't know. That's a
I can read the top bit.
Right. Yeah.
But
that's
just about.
Yeah. But I think often people kind of conflate. Oh, I can't read music, or I don't know. What chords are particularly, or whatever, with being like a proper musician. But like you've made a career out of being a musician, so you
exactly.
by
Okay,
definition
I
are
get
a
it.
musician.
Yeah. No, I do get what you mean. But it's interesting because so many people, they go, right, here's your chord, boom, and I go, I don't know where my note is, and so it's a different thing. Yes, I'm a musician, but it's also I do wade there a bit, and also sometimes if you don't know what you're doing really musically, sometimes you create something different, which we just did.
I think we did. I think that's true. But also, I think there are different ways of being a musician, and not just in terms of whether you read or not, but like what you and what singers, like you, are incredible at, is interpreting a song in a really in-depth, beautiful way. Which maybe, obviously, there's lots of people who can read music and who write brilliant music who can also do that.
Yes.
But I think what you bring to it with theatricality and stuff is a different thing in a way, and so there's a different way of being musical. But it's
Thank you, Steve. I like to do storytelling. That's my favourite thing, actually.
Well, speaking of that, right? Because so you're for people who don't know, Frances, you're an incredible actor and singer and musical theatre singer as well, right?
Yeah.
That's
well? I shouldn't be agreeing with you, but yeah.
You are. You're all of those things. Yes, you literally have an award to prove it. But you and I'm sort of interested in the role that music plays in musical theatre. So I said this in a social media post about this show, which is that whisper it. I've got this, very, very well-known musical theatre singer. I don't always like musicals that much. So can you?
Don't tell her.
Exactly. But can you? What the role of music in musical theatre is? That's obviously it's really, really central. But it also differs quite a lot from opera. So, like, what attracted you to musical theatre in the first place?
Well, I was taken to musicals. Actually, I'm going to go right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
My mum was an avid music hall theatre music collector. So not music hall. We're in a music hall. And so I was brought up on all the old sort of Mari Lloyd songs and, gosh, I wish I'd thought about this before I walked on the stage. I can't remember all the names. But I was brought up with all that music. And, okay, I'm going to go back even further. So actually, I got my equity card when I was 5, and I did that doing a music hall act at the age of 5 at the Players Theatre, which had its own theatre. I believe the Players also do a music hall here every year. And when I was young, not too young, when I was a young teenager, maybe about 14, my mum helped raise money for Wilton's Music Hall, which we are in now, and with Roy Hudd and I don't remember, Spike Milligan, I think, and a lot of people like that. And we did an album, a record, a vinyl record of old music hall songs with all my local friends from my local primary school. Although we were older by then, but we were all still connected because, oh my God, this is a long story. My mum is Sylvia Young, and she ran a group before she had the Sylvia Young Theatre School called the Young 'Uns, which started in my local primary school. Anyway, so the Young 'Uns were still together, and this is a vinyl record on by the Young 'Uns, old-time music hall by the Young 'Uns. And in fact, she told me, Wilton, that she would give them a framed copy of this vinyl many, many years ago. And I just spoke to her tonight. She's 85, and she just remembered she hadn't given it to them. So I will do that.
Well, it's a shame because we could have played it. Well, if she does, we'll play it on the stereo next time.
Play it.
That would be great.
We have it. I have one at home. It's beautiful. It really is. So we'll get that to Wilton's. And she actually said to me, yes, we raised enough money for postage stamps. And I said, what do you mean postage stamps? Was that just to send the records out? No. We raised money for Wilton's to send letters of appeal out, the postage stamps. In those days, that's how every door got an appeal. Anyway, so that was back then. And here we are now. I think they had to do another appeal in 2009. I was a bit like, oh.
Well, it was threatened, yeah, it was threatened, and then I think they got one-off money from the Arts Council to renovate, and which is what saved it. But it is an incredible history, this place. And a few years ago, I was doing some work with a vocal project here for kids again, and I turned one of Spike Milligan's poems into a song, which I must try and do actually at one of these shows. I've got another one of these shows in April called Land of the Bumblebee Boo, and it's got a musical style.
I love that.
I'm a huge Spike Milligan fan, and the history of this place is absolutely amazing. And I didn't know until tonight when we were talking about it backstage that you had a direct history with this place.
Yeah, definitely. We from a young age. What were we talking about?
We were talking about the role of music in musical theatre.
Oh, right, okay. So I guess I came to storytelling from music hall. And then I was taken to lots of musicals, and I did love musicals growing up, but actually, really, honestly, I wanted to be a pop star. I thought musicals weren't that cool. It's really annoying because now they're really cool. And I probably didn't realise I was doing something quite cool back then, but I was just like, I wasn't so grateful. I was very young. But now it's really cool to be in musicals and I can't get a job.
Well, we're going to come to the pop stuff in a bit because we have a pop thing coming up. Yeah. But before we do, speaking of music and theatre, you're working on a new music theatre piece, right?
Well, basically, I've got a play that I've written with Alan Cumming and Sally George, and it's happening next year. We haven't announced it yet, so I'm not allowed to announce it, but kind of announce it that it's happening. I can even tell you what it's called. It's called I Can Die Too. I mean, that might change. And it's a play with music. And some argue it's a musical and some say it's a play with music. But me and Alan and Sally think it's a play with music.
What's the distinction between those things?
I think there's a distinction. The distinction is, and it should be, in a musical, the song tells the story and moves you along in the story. So at the beginning of the song, you should be somewhere else at the end of the song, I think. It's not always the case, but that's really traditionally how it works. And ours is more like a play and a concert together. So it's maybe a unique genre. So that's what's happening.
Before we let you go, we're going to talk about one other thing, which is about your amazing career, which is that in the 90s, 1994?
Yes.
1984, Frances was our Eurovision entry. She was our, That's right, and it's an amazing song, which by the way, spoiler alert, we're going to hear shortly for the first time in
30 years.
30 years. It's going to happen tonight.
I said to Steve, I can't sing it because I don't have a backing track. And actually, I've been asked so many times by people to come and sing the song, and they want to pay me loads of money, and I go, well, I haven't got a backing track. So now it needs a bit of work, this backing track, doesn't it?
I did my best.
We'll get there. He did his best.
Come on. Wow. I thought this was building up to a big compliment, but no, and I still haven't got a backing track that's any good.
It's not your fault.
Did my best. Anyway, that's for in a second. But I just want to talk to you about the experience of Eurovision. So, I mean, firstly, how does it happen? How do you become the Eurovision entry?
Well, back then, I just literally got asked by the BBC, would I do all of the songs, you know, the 8 songs for the Britons to choose. The Britons to choose. Yeah. And which is weird, actually. And I went for a meeting, and I wasn't really sure I wanted to do it because, you know, first of all, I mean, I really needed to grow up. But back then, I didn't think musicals were cool. I didn't think Eurovision was cool either. I don't know why I wanted to be so cool. Anyway, and I really wasn't. And so I said, no, I don't want to do it. And then they persuaded me with lots of nice things I won't tell you about. But actually, I'll admit it was a job. I got paid, and I got paid really well. I got a car space at the BBC, got trips to Ireland, and yeah, it was, you know what, it was real fun. And actually, looking back on it, I would have done it for nothing. If I'd known it would be so much fun. But it was a job. It was a job.
Where does the song come from? So they approached you with the song?
No, they had a panel which I was on, where you choose the best 8, and then we do a TV program, and I had to sing all 8 twice. Right, and then the song that won was my favourite, actually.
It's a great song, which we're going to.
I was really relieved. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure if it would have been one you hated, that would have been tricky.
But there were really, really great songs. Actually, I sang some really great songs. The 8 songs were great.
And what the experience itself? What's the experience of? Because it was in Dublin, right? That one.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the experience like of being in the room? And because I mean, it's Eurovision. I think. Some people can be a little bit, in this country, can be a little bit snooty about, but it's a massive thing. It's a huge thing all over Europe.
Yeah,
right? And they take it really seriously. We sort of laugh at it here sometimes, but it's an amazing thing.
It is serious, but it is fun as well. I mean, it's really camp.
Yeah.
It's brilliantly camp, and it's got camper and camper every year. And I think, I'm now really proud of it. I'm really proud I did it.
You should be. I think you did a fantastic job, and you did quite well, right? I think a lot of people, there was kind of controversial that you should have done much better, I think a lot of people were saying. But
they did think it, which was nice, because I was the bookies' favourite, but I came 10th, which apparently at that time was very good. So.
Because people hate the Brits mainly, right?
Yeah.
So and how did that feel in the night? Was the disappointment about that, or were you resigned?
Yeah, I think when I first went into it, I wasn't expecting anything, but when the bookies said I was the favourite, is that how you say it, the favourite? Mm-hmm. I get it a bit confused. Yeah, so I suddenly got my high hopes up, and then they were dashed.
Mm. But it must have been quite sort of disappointing at the time. But I mean, it's an enormous global audience, right?
Yeah,
tens of hundreds of millions probably.
Yeah.
So it's quite a big gig.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they were, in a way, they were wise to get someone who's used to performing live all the time. Mm. So I wasn't nervous at all, not one bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not at all.
That's interesting.
And I had the musical director. In those days, we didn't do it to a track. It was live orchestra. And the musical director had flown over. I'd worked with him before. We knew each other. It was a lovely group. So we had a great time. Didn't really think about the nerves. Just got on with it. And the weird thing is, I'm probably going to be more nervous singing this song now. Yeah.
Well, do you want me to ask you a difficult question, or do you want to crack on and get it done?
You can ask whatever.
Well, I was just going to ask, we're running out of time, but I was going to ask the question that I asked Sarah Louise earlier, which is, what's the point of music? In 3 words, if you like. Gosh, I wish I'd known you were going to ask that. but I mean, in 3 words, for me... No, it doesn't have to be in 3 words.
For me, music, because of doing storytelling and musicals, as well as pop music, laughter, togetherness, and freedom.
There we go. That was in 3 words. That's concise, beautiful. And with that in mind, should we just do it?
We're going to do it. If you know it, join in.
Okay, here we go. With my terrible backing track.
Oh, he's amazing. Give it up for Steve Pretty.
Walk into the box, let your secrets out. time for confession. Purify your soul, denounce the devil from within. No time for aggression. Don't wait up in vain. Love has lost its way. We live in segregation. Can't you see the piece of dust that crumbles in your hand is me? Give me some affection. And though my heart is broken, my picture is forgotten, but I still believe that I can see a piece of me reflecting in your eyes. Never fall, and we will be free. We will rise, we'll never fall again, and we will be free.
So my huge thanks once again to Frances Ruffelle for that fascinating chat and that lovely live music. Really enjoyed having Frankie on the show and playing with her on stage again after many years of not playing together. So yeah, really appreciate her coming down for that, and appreciate Wilton's Music Hall and all of my other guests on that episode, all of which will be coming up in the coming weeks and months. I know I mentioned it earlier, but there really is a lot of exciting stuff to come on this podcast. I just kind of can't keep up with the amount of stuff that I'm recording, so I need to get away and slave away behind the scenes, knocking it into shape and getting it out into your ears and eyes, because it's a real treat, some of this stuff we've got. So yeah, please stay tuned. Yeah, the usual thing I ask you to do is go over to the mailing list, so it's originofthepieces.com, sign up for the mailing list. At the moment it's just kind of a holding page, but I'm working very hard on getting this shiny new website finished, so that should be ready pretty soon, originofthepieces.com, and there's also links there to the Patreon, where you get loads of extra behind the scenes bonus stuff, which is really fun to download and watch and enjoy and listen to, and there's going to be even more coming up on that as well, so do head over there. Meanwhile, again, we'll speak to you in the next few weeks, I hope, but do go back and check out previous episodes. Loads of good stuff there. If you haven't heard episode 25, where I dig into the origins of my track Reawake, that I do with Hackney Colliery Band, and the kind of unusual origin story of that, which was the fact that it was formed out of a near-death experience that I had a long time ago in 2004. So go back and have a listen to that, and how I turned my daughter's heartbeat into a drum loop for that song. And speaking of turning recordings into songs, if you've got anything to send me for your contributions to the clip and mix, where you can send me your recordings and then I'll have a little jam along with them, or I'll turn them into a bit of music, please do that. You can get in touch with podcast@stevepretty.com. That's podcast@stevepretty.com, and you can send me a little video clip or a little audio clip or voice note or whatever you like, and then I will see what I can do to do something musical with it, and explain how I do so in the process. So podcast@stevepretty.com. Meanwhile, thanks again for tuning in, and thank you to my incredible guest Frances Ruffelle. Thank you to Wilton's Music Hall, and just remains me to also thank Angelique Kidjo and Hackney Colliery Band for the theme song. I'm going to be back in your ears and eyes as soon as I possibly can. Meanwhile, thanks very much, stay musically curious, and I'll speak soon. Bye!